Download this code from codegive.com, link in the description below. Executing SQL script files in SQL Server Management Studio, SSMS, is a straightforward process, and it's a common task for database administrators and developers. Below is a step-by-step tutorial on how to do this, along with a code example. Step-by-step tutorial. Step 1. Open SQL Server Management Studio. 1. Launch SQL Server Management Studio on your computer. 2. Connect to the SQL Server instance where you want to execute the SQL script. Step 2. Open the SQL script file. 1. Click on the File menu in the top left corner. 2. Select Open and then choose File. 3. Browse to the location of your SQL script file, with a .SQL extension, and select it. 4. Click Open to load the script into a new query window. Step 3. Review the SQL script. 1. After opening, review the contents of the script to ensure it is what you expect. 2. Make sure you understand what the script will do, especially if it involves data manipulation or schema changes. Step 4. Execute the SQL script. 1. With the SQL script loaded in the query window, you can execute it in several ways. Execute button. Click the Execute button, green triangle, in the toolbar. Keyboard shortcut, press F5 or Ctrl+E on your keyboard. Step 5. Check results. 1. After execution, check the Messages tab for any output or errors. 2. If the script modifies data, you can verify the changes by running a select statement or checking the affected tables. Example SQL script. Here's a simple example of a SQL script that creates a new table, inserts data into it, and then selects data from it. SQL. Create a new table. Create table employees. Employee ID int primary key. First name and varchar, 50. Last name and varchar, 50. Hire date date time. Insert some data into the table. Insert into employees, employee ID, first name, last name, hire date. Values. 1. John, Doe, 2023-01-15. 2. Jane, Smith, 2023-02-20. 3. Emily, Johnson, 2023-03-05. Select data from the table. Select asterisk from employees. Notes. Permissions. Ensure that you have the necessary permissions to execute the script, especially for creating tables or modifying data. Transaction control. If you are executing multiple statements and want to ensure atomicity, consider wrapping your script in a transaction using begin transaction, commit, and rollback. Backup. Always back up your database before executing scripts that modify data or schema, especially in production environments. Error handling. Consider adding error handling to your scripts to gracefully manage any issues that may arise during execution. Conclusion. Executing SQL scripts in SQL Server Management Studio is a fundamental skill that can facilitate database management and development tasks. By following the steps outlined above and using the provided code example, you can effectively run SQL scripts in your environment. Executing SQL script files in SQL Server Management Studio, SSMS, is a common task for database developers and administrators. This tutorial will guide you through the process step by step, providing code examples and useful tips. Prerequisites. SQL Server Management Studio, SSMS. Make sure you have SSMS installed on your machine. SQL Server Instance. Ensure you have access to a SQL Server instance where you can execute scripts. Steps to execute SQL script files in SSMS. 1. Open SQL Server Management Studio. Launch SSMS and connect to your SQL Server instance by entering the server name and authentication details. 2. Open the SQL script file. Go to the menu bar and click on File-Open-File. Navigate to the location of your .SQL script file and select it. Alternatively, you can use the keyboard shortcut Ctrl+O to open the file dialog. 3. Review the script. Once the file is open, review the SQL commands to ensure they are correct and safe to execute. This is especially important if you are executing scripts that modify data or schema. 4. Execute the script. To execute the script, you can either click the Execute button, a green triangle, in the toolbar, or press F5 on your keyboard. When you execute the script, SSMS will run the commands in the order they appear in the file. 5. Check the results. After executing the script, you will see the results in the Messages and Results tabs at the bottom of the SSMS window. The Messages tab will show you any messages from SQL Server, including errors or success messages. The Results tab, if applicable, will display any data returned by select statements. Code example. Let's assume you have a SQL script file named creatable.sql with the following content. SQL. Create a new table named Employees. Create table Employees. Employee ID int primary key identity, 1,1. First name and varchar, 50. Last name and varchar, 50. Hire date. Salary decimal, 18, 2. Insert sample data into Employees table. Insert into Employees, first name, last name, hire date, salary. Values. John, Doe, 2023-01-01, 60,000.00. Jane, Smith, 2023-02-01, 65,000.00. Mike, Johnson, 2023-03-01, 70,000.00. Select data from Employees table. Select asterisk from Employees. Steps to execute this script. 1. Open SSMS and connect to your SQL Server instance. 2. Open the creatable.sql file using File-Open-File. 3. Review the SQL commands to ensure they are correct. 4. Execute the script by clicking the Execute button or pressing F5. 5. Check the results. In the Messages tab, you should see confirmation messages about the table creation and the number of rows affected by the insert operations. In the Results tab, you should see the data that was selected from the Employees table. Tips. Error handling. If your script fails, carefully review the error messages in the Messages tab to diagnose the issue. Batch separators. If your script contains multiple batches of statements, use the Go command to separate them. For example, SQL. Create table Employees. Go. Insert into Employees. Go. Select asterisk from Employees. Go. Transaction management. Consider wrapping your script in a transaction if it involves multiple operations that need to succeed or fail together. SQL. Begin transaction. Your SQL commands here. Commit transaction. By following these steps, you can effectively execute SQL script files in SQL Server Management Studio. Happy coding!